Hello, everybody, and welcome into Commodity Culture, where we break down commodities markets, sound money principles, and geopolitics, all with the goal of making you a better investor in the commodities sector. My name is Jesse Day, and on this episode, I'm excited to welcome Clem Chambers to the program, a financial journalist, founder of ADFN Europe's leading stocks and markets website, and the author of books such as 101 Ways to Pick Stock Market Winners. Clem believes that gold stands a very good chance of climbing to $10,000 an ounce, but the road there is fraught with peril. And ultimately, Clem thinks a hot war between China and the US could be the catalyst to send precious metals prices parabolic. Clem outlines when he sees that conflict kicking off, which side has the advantage, and the implications for the global economy and financial markets. Clem also dives into the AI race and who will come out on top, why doom and gloom headlines on the European economy might need to be taken with a grain of salt, and so much more. So strap yourselves in for my conversation with Clem Chambers. Clem Chambers, it is great to have you back on Commodity Culture. I want to kick things off with your current assessment of the broad market, largely being driven by big tech and the so-called AI revolution. We recently saw markets take a hit in the aftermath of Trump announcing 100% additional tariffs on China. Now he's since walked that back. Markets have since bounced back. We're in a bizarre era where a single tweet from the president seems to be able to dramatically move markets. What are your thoughts on the broad market at present, and how can investors wrap their heads around the current market dynamic?
Well, I've got to say that one tweet or equivalent from the president of the US has always been able to set the market to crash or to go through the roof. It's just that America has a president that makes a lot of those statements. And, if you look at statesmanship, it's a new kind. It's not one whereby, a president sits there and looks good and makes some profound statements. It's one which is a direct broadcast. And that is a new reality. And I don't think it's going to be an aberration. I think that is the future of how this stuff is going to work. And as far as the market goes, I mean, there is only one market really in terms of equities, and that's the NASDAQ. And the NASDAQ is in the early stages, I believe, of a bubble. Now, it could still be in a boom, but I think it's in the early stages of a bubble. Basically, American financial policy has been to inflate two sorts of assets, the stock market and real estate. And then you pump money into the stock market and real estate. It then trickles down. It's nowhere near as inflationary as handing it out to normal people. Because if you print money and hand it out to normal people, they spend it, and that creates inflation. Because not only do they need to spend it, they want to spend it. If you hand out the money to people in the form of boosting prices in real estate and or equities, you're basically giving money to the rich. And the rich don't need money. So they don't spend it. They bank it, and the banks take care of the money. And that's not so inflationary, but it does support the economic development of your country. And that is what QE was all about. Now, it works. Oh, we'll do more of that then. Oh, it's still working. Let's do more of that then. Oh, let's do more of that then. Let's do more of that then. Oh, the stock market is incredibly wonderful and I've got shares. Let's do more of that then. Boom, bubble, bust. And we're in what might be the beginnings of the end of that. I mean, if they've got any sense, they'll try to keep a lid on it. And they'll try to keep, just gently, or not so gently, but supporting house prices and equity prices. But of course, then you get a load of politicians that go, whoa, I could get re-elected in 12 months. I'm going to go hell for leather. And then you get the bubble and you get the bust. Any wonderful system like that is going to end up being abused. And that causes your bubble, and then that causes your bust. And, you don't have to be America to see that cycle. You can see that perhaps in China with the way that they did real estate. You can see that in all sorts of places over history. And, the market, which is the NASDAQ, is where you see that quite clearly. You have a handful of companies that are worth the sort of money that doesn't make any sense on many, many levels. And everybody's on that train. And that train is boosted by the way that money's printed, and everybody loves it. But at some point, it just can't continue to go up, and it goes bang. And, boom, bubble, bust. Well, a boom is a boom, but a bubble's a bubble. And when things go from boom to bubble, that's normally when everyone is at the most happy and it all goes up and everything's wonderful. Everyone sings Hosanna and how clever they are. I think we're in the early stages of that right now. It might take 2 or 3 years to run its course, but we are, I believe, is in the bubble phase of that.
Do we even have free markets anymore? Or how long has it been since we have not had free markets, if that is the case? Because as you mentioned, there's so many perverse incentives. Now, the president, like you said, a tweet or a statement could always move markets, but statesmanship has totally changed now. When it comes to the Trump administration, at least, it's a bit of a strong arm tactics and loudly declaring what you want to do, and not worrying about being too antagonizing or trying to say things in a politically correct way. But we also have the Fed, of course, which I don't think anybody believes is an independent organization, and so many other
Oh, I
perverse.
think they're pretty independent.
Okay,
I mean, you think about how much pressure they've been under from Trump. I mean, he hasn't actually sued Jay Powell, but he almost threatened to do so.
yeah,
And it is their job to be independent. Now, that's not to say their job is to do bad things or hurt anybody. It's the opposite. So they're independently trying to do their best. And a lot of people diss the Fed, but actually the problem is not coming from the Fed; it's coming from the government spending money like water. And the Fed is trying to manage that system where you've got the people with their finger on the print button, just going crazy. It's like American economy is like an incredibly badly run business where all the execs are throwing wild parties and bankrupting the company. And the Fed is the, the CFO trying to keep the company solvent. And, that's an incredibly difficult thing. Now, I'd go back to your original question. And, you say things like perverse incentives. Well, drop the word perverse. Just say incentives. Free market. Oh, there used to be a free market is the one. Drop the word free. It's a market. It never was free. It was freer or more chaotic than it is now. But don't believe it ever was really free. There's always been an SEC. There's always been rules. There's always been governance. There was, up until I don't know when they brought it in the 70s, I think, you could insider trade and that was fine. And you used to be able to insider trade in commodities up until very recently too. Is that a free market? And you wouldn't say, oh, it's not a free market anymore. You're not allowed to insider trade, although theorists might say that. Yeah. So there's never really been, there never really is absolutes. Now, is it less chaotic? Yes. Is it more regulated? Yes. Is it any more stable? Probably. But of course, if you inject stability into a market, when it breaks, boy, does it break. It breaks big time. So ultimately, a lot of the things that you see and hear about are really, 50-50s whether they work or not, or whether they're good or whether they're bad, or whether they have no effect at all. But the markets right now, yes, they have a lot of curation going on. There are a lot of activities which are getting in the way of the natural random process of markets. And you saw that with the tariff crash at the beginning of the year. It's clear that there was intervention there. And there's more intervention going on in the markets now than there's ever been. You just have to look at the Fed balance sheet because that's one big intervention. It's putting money into the system because of COVID. It's taking it out because there was too much money in the system. Oh, Silicon Valley Bank blew up. Oh, put money back into the system. Keep taking it out. Keep taking it out. So you could look, most people in the commodities end, the hard money end, would say the Fed needs to bring down its balance sheet. And the Fed has agreed. And it's been bringing down its balance sheet. But that's intervention. It's negative intervention. It's taking money out of the system. That's intervention. Yeah, the reverse repo. That's intervention. Yeah, and now all the money's gone from the reverse repo because all the excess money in the American economy has gone. They put money into if you need some money, piggy bank, can't remember what it's called now, SRF or whatever, the standing facility. And last week they put money in it because the American economy had run out of money. Yeah, that's intervention. And if you don't do that, then the stock market collapses and then everybody goes bust. And all the companies go into bankruptcy and you have a smoking crater because you didn't intervene. 1929. Or 1932, you intervene too much and you extend your recession for another 5 years. But nonetheless, there's intervention, and there's a lot more of that now than there was, say, in the 80s. But those markets weren't free. They were freer than the markets are now. And it's much harder to navigate, well, from my point of view anyway, when there's some guy behind a desk that suddenly goes, oh, yeah, I think now we need to intervene, press the button. Because it's not like saying, well, the fundamentals are this and the direction of travel is that. There's a guy that can, completely reverse the direction of travel at random. And he can be brilliant, or he could be totally wrong. It could be an elected official, or it could be an unelected official. So yes, that makes it tricky. So I find myself having to look at more and more basic ideas rather than worry about narrative.
The sponsor of today's episode is ARC Silver Gold Osmium. Owner Ian Everard is praised even by his competitors as one of the most honest and level-headed bullion dealers in the United States. They have some great prices. You can see some of them displayed right now on screen. Take advantage of these specials today by reaching out to Ian at 307-264-9441 or by email at ian@arcsgo.com. Make sure to tell him, of course, that Commodity Culture sent you. And now, back to the interview. Great summary. The AI revolution, is this a real thing in your view? Because obviously a lot of these stocks in the Mag 7 are being valued based on future expectations of AI completely changing a lot of things, replacing employment, revolutionizing the way we use the internet. On the extreme end, you have people talking about AI becoming super intelligent. There's a lot of expectation and hype.
Intelligent.
Okay.
It's already super intelligent. It's already happened. It's not going to happen. It's happened. Right? The point is, it's like we're farmers and it's 1712. And we go, they've just built this thing called the steam engine and they're using it to pump water out of the silver mines around the corner. What do you reckon? Yeah. Well, within 100 years, they'd all left the land, or 150 years. 95% of the people lived on the land and farmed before artificial muscle came along. And then they weren't needed. So they went to the cities and worked in the factories. Yeah. And worked in offices. And, they had to leave. All the peasants' houses, most of them got ploughed into the fields. They're ploughed in. They ain't there no more. Yeah. And they would probably think that was really bad, really, really terrible, really, really bad. They had 8 children, 4 or 6 of them would die before they were 5, and they would probably live to 42. But they thought it was really bad that someone had invented artificial muscle. And now, 200 years later, we live to 80, 100% of our children survive, unless you're incredibly unlucky. And, all those houses that were ploughed into the fields, we wish they owned them because the real estate value would be massive. But the whole world changed because of artificial muscle. And it changed for the way better. Although, Luddites wanted to smash the machinery up. The French Revolution was caused by that. And the king ended up with his head on the stick. And lots of, the Napoleonic War occurred and millions were slaughtered, as were in the First World War and the Second World War. All came out of the invention of the steam engine. Yeah, but right now we would say, well, it was pretty good that they invented the steam engine. Yeah, and this is not artificial muscle. This is artificial brain. So this is the next round. This is a much bigger lever. And as Archimedes said, was it? Give me a long enough lever and I'll lift the world. This is one of them levers. This is the new era. And yeah, if you don't believe in it, you've got a problem. If you're not too smart, you've got a problem. Because by the way, if you're smart and you use AI, you get a massive boost in your intelligence. If you're dumb and you try to use AI, you don't get much of a lift in intelligence. So the gap between the dumb and the smart is going like that. So the really clever are all of a sudden at genius level, and the not clever at all just get a little bit smarter. So that gap really opens up. So that's going to cause issues. There's going to be massive, massive issues. But the point is now humanity goes to the next level. And obviously, the amount of money being made out of that is going to be gigantic. And you're already seeing gigantic amounts of money. People are confused that there are billionaires. That's a gigantic amount of money. Well, that comes from our economic activity. And it comes from Pareto's law of 80-20. Well, 1% end up with 25% of the money. And that's just the law of 50-50 at work. Yeah. And we're going into the phase where actually I've lived through it. When I was a child and I read the financial equivalent in Britain of the Wall Street Journal, they were still talking in hundreds of thousands. This company's done a deal for £800,000. And then a few years later, it was this company's done a deal for £8 million. And a few years later, it's this company's done a deal for 80 million, 800 million, 8 billion, 80 billion, 8 trillion. And here we are at the trillion. Yeah. Well, if we can go to hundreds of thousands to trillions in my lifetime, with AI, you can imagine the numbers, which direction in real terms, not in German inflationary terms. I had a $4 trillion stamp from 1924 from Germany, but in real value, those zeros are going to get tagged on. And for those that actually catch that wave, there's the vast amounts of wealth in their future. And for those that don't catch the wave, they'll be wondering why they got left behind.
Well, last time I had you on the show, I believe you said that something about the AI race, that there can only be one winner at the end. When it comes to countries competing with each other in this technology, we saw China come out with DeepSeek, which a lot of people thought would really change the game, as it required, far less capital to start that, as did ChatGPT. We're seeing all of the capex being poured into these different projects, OpenAI, et cetera. In your view right now, who is the leader in the AI race, and how do you expect that to all play out?
It's not about who's the leader, which is America. It's about who's going to be the winner. And I've got really good news for you and your viewers, which they're not going to like because they don't like good news. They want to know that the world's going to end. But there's really, really, really good news. And this is from my own research. It's not, I didn't read it anywhere, but you might be reading about it going forward. Yeah. In that America is going to win the AI war for a very, very simple reason. And everybody will understand and go, no, that can't be right. Really? Oh, wow, that's amazing. The English language is more compressed than the Chinese language. There's more entropy in Chinese than there is in English. So the cost of making AI using the English language, i.e. LLMs, i.e. artificial intelligence, rather than the ability to drive a car. Yeah, the cost of a unit of intelligence for people that speak English is lower. So people with the English language are going to beat people with languages with higher entropy in their languages. And they will not be able to compete because they'll be competing. The power behind AI is information and literally energy. And if your AI costs more energy than the other side's, you're going to lose. And the Chinese language is that disadvantage. And therefore the Chinese will lose the AI war because it's going to be more expensive for them. So that's great news. And by the way, Hawaiian language is even more compressed than English. So watch out for any spam eating Pacific people with AI. They've got an advantage over us. But outside Hawaiians taking over the world, the English language is basically the definitively lowest entropy language, i.e. the cheapest language to turn into AI. And that's going to be absolutely definitive and absolutely critical to America, and for that matter parts of Europe, to actually stay at least ahead or at least alongside the Chinese in the AI conflict, which is already underway.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that I hadn't considered before. You're the first person I've heard mention
No one has.
that.
No one has. You have to be a bit of a math head to know about that. Shannon entropy and all that.
I want to talk about gold and silver here, falling fairly dramatically after a massive run up. Saw gold climb $1,000 in 2 months and silver $17 in that same time frame. I think a correction like we've seen is a fairly natural and to be expected after such a massive and fast run. What do you think?
As we all know, when something goes up, it keeps going up forever, doesn't it? I mean, it never stops. I mean, it just goes up to infinity. I mean, just like Bitcoin, So, yes, I mean, joking aside, you are dealing with a repricing event. Okay, so gold repriced. So there it's doing that. And this is technical analysis. I've got a YouTube channel where I talk about this. So you've got a price, let's call it $3,000 an ounce, okay, or 2,800. It's doing that. That is the uncertainty of the market. Is it too much? Is it too little? Do I want to buy some? Do I want to sell some? There it does that. Then something happens. I don't know. Like if you have a chicken, the chicken goes, wah, wah, when it lays an egg, right? So someone goes, wah, 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 and it reprices. And when it reprices, it just does that. It should do it instantaneously, but the market doesn't reprice instantaneously because signal to noise takes time to permeate, blah, 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 blah. It goes like that. And then it reprices. It has its repricing, and that's where it goes. And then it does that. But that's what you're seeing. It repriced. And 4,000 is the level of repricing. And now it's going to do that. I mean, it might be decided because there's little bit too much FOMO. It'll go back to 3.9 or whatever, but it will do that. Yeah. And then the next thing that comes along will reprice it, and it'll either go thunk, which is unlikely unless suddenly Mr. Trump gets Jesus or Zai gets whatever Buddha. Yeah. It will go, it will reprice again. It will just go vertical. It will break out of a range. And the repricing range is where we are now. And therefore, the decision that you have to make was that there's a, as I said, I just did a private YouTube for my members on YouTube, Clem Chambers Alpha. Yeah. And there's something called superlinear stochastics. Okay. I know you people out there are into your stochastics. Yeah. And superlinear stochastics it's all about flipping a coin. It's heads and tails. It's just an extension of the rules of 50-50. Yeah. It means that, for example, if you write a book, the chances are 50-50 that you're going to make 2 books. And if you make 2 books, the chances are 50-50 you're going to make 4 books. 50-50 then you're going to make 8 books. 50-50 you're going to make 16. Right. And that's just a function of random processes. There's no magic in it. There's no Gandalf waving his magic wand. Yeah. And with prices, I think it's called Lotte's law. But anyway, you can see my video. If something reprices, it's 50-50. It's the whole way or half the way. And that might seem, well, it's 50-50. It can go down, it can go up. But the point is, when it moves a long way. So as an investor or a speculator, something reprices, you watch it. And when it starts to reprice again in any direction, you jump on it. I.e., if you're going down, you jump on it short. If it goes up, you jump on it long. Yeah. And we are at that halfway or the whole way. And that's really the only call that you want to make, or actually you shouldn't bother making that call. It's repriced. It's going to stay there till the chicken goes bah, bah, and lays another egg. And at that point, it will probably, and I believe with gold, it's highly likely to just break up and head off towards 5, 6, 7,000, which will be bad because it will have to be a very bad reason to do that. But if it does it, it does it. It don't listen to me. I listen to it. So we are at that repricing level, and there's going to be an area of volatility while it's doing that. And it might be somewhere between like 4.1 and 4.8 or whatever. It's going to be doing that. And then actually what tends to happen, a really fine gradient level, it will go, and then it will go bang or bang. So that uncertainty will fade away because everybody's sat there going, what's it going to do? What's it going to do? Oh. And that uncertainty will diminish and that range will shrink. Yeah. And that will tell you that something wicked this way comes, either one way or the other, and then it will break. It will either break up or break down. So that is what's going to happen probably over the next few weeks or maybe even months. But of course, it's not just some sort of pre-planned, movie. It depends on the players, and it depends on what the players do. And, if suddenly Putin gets out the wrong side of the bread and presses the wrong button, it will just go, it could go tomorrow. So it's not like it's going to go on January the 3rd, and I've drawn some lines that tells you. But you can see as the uncertainty shrinks, that the next move is on the way. And you would look for other signals to work out what that move might be, because there's a large group of people that think they know, and they will be doing the do. It's like I was in some meetings in London recently, and people that should know are all talking about we're in the Third World War. Well, they're going to act accordingly, aren't they? That's not insider trading. They just all agree we're in the Third World War, albeit a Cold War. Well, if you look at whatever candles, the price of candles is going up. The price of electricity generators, they're out of stock of electricity generators, or whatever, the signal that tells you what it is that's going on under the hood. That's what you'll be looking for in the markets. You go look at the military companies and you note that all their share prices are going up. And when somebody says something peaceable, down, well, 2 days beforehand, they all went down. Yeah. So the information flows like honey, and it gets in everything and gets everywhere, and it appears in the market. So the speculator, as opposed to the investor, that's what they watch. Now, if you're an investor, you've got your long-term picture and you don't care, and you don't watch this video. So, we're probably dealing with a load of speculators here like me. Well, I'm not really a speculator, but, one does like to make occasional, free money.
Yes. Now, one of your famous sayings is that gold is for war, and you've outlined here that you see gold probably going higher, and you see probably that we are going to see more uncertainty up ahead as opposed to less. When looking out at the world today in terms of the hot wars that are actually occurring, we now have Pakistan and Afghanistan. Of course, the ceasefire in Gaza does not look like it's going to hold up. A lot of people anticipating that war to go full on once again. Russia, Ukraine continues to rage without any end in sight. I mean, there's many more as well, right? We also have a potential hot war now brewing between the U.S. and Venezuela. How do you
Jesse,
see all this playing out? Yeah,
ask yourself this. Imagine tomorrow Japan disappeared under the ocean.
yeah.
What would the Dow do?
That's a really interesting question. The Dow specifically, I wouldn't have an
Or the
answer.
Nasdaq, or
Yeah,
the NYSE, it would probably fall 15%.
sure.
Well, that's the whole of Japan. Yeah. So anything, that's one of the great countries of the world. Yeah. We're looking at a conflict which is China versus the West. You know, um, all these conflicts you talk about, however sad and distressing they are, it's just the detail. It's a tiny issue. If you look at the World War II, they rolled over backwards and forwards over Ukraine a few times, and it doesn't even get a chapter. Yeah. So the conflict that may occur into 2027, by the way, is Taiwan, China, America. Well, that's many noughts bigger than anything we're seeing now. And, that is the problem. That's the point we have to get past. The 100 years of communist rule in China and getting Taiwan back. That's what needs to be avoided. And that is the wicked thing that can and might drive gold to 8,000 or 9,000. And, that's what everybody in the West is panicked about, because right now they can't fight a war. You can't fight China because it makes all your stuff. China doesn't have to do anything. It just has to say you can't have that anymore. No. Oh, motors for your drones. Yeah, we make all them. Yeah, no, we don't. We don't want to send you any of those. Rare earth. Oh, yeah, you've got a mine now, have you? When do you finish it? Oh, in 3 years' time. Okay. No, you can't have any rare earth. No. Oh, you can't build missiles to fight us with. Oh, what a pity. The ships. Yeah, you don't have many of them, do you? You find it difficult to make them, don't you? Yeah. Yeah, you put that tax on our ships so that you could have a shipbuilding industry. So we put them back on you, and you still don't have a ship industry. So how are you gonna supply yourself? Oh, you can't. Oh, what a pity. What a pity. What a shame. You've been trying to reindustrialize, haven't you? Yeah, how's that worked out for you? Yeah, not very good. No, because you can't build factories in Europe. No, they won't let you. No, they won't. No, and you have to ask them for money, and they won't give it to you for 2 years. And no. Yeah. So that is what drives gold to $8,000 to $10,000 an ounce. And guess who's buying it? Who's buying all the gold then? Oh, it's China. Oh, funny that. Oh, I wonder why. Yeah. So unfortunately, why people think that governments are going to make silver and gold coins again, and that's going to be their currency, however catastrophic that would be. Yeah. It's about the international currency of war. And, if China needs to buy some tungsten from Portugal or wherever it wants to buy it from, I don't think they're going to take the yuan. They're going to, and, Russia, for example, if they want to buy stuff off Russia, I think they're going to have to pay in gold. Yeah. And it's pretty grim. However, on the other side, there's I keep saying this, and some people might chuckle, some people might think I'm mad, right? There's two things. It's a foot race. Humanity has a foot race between AI and NS. And people always say, what's NS? And I say, natural stupidity. And that's where we are. There's about 10 to 15 years of development of AI until AI is smart enough to stop us doing anything really bloody stupid. But there's a few years ahead of us where there's plenty of people who are masters of natural stupidity out there. And I don't have to name names. You can go list them. In fact, just go to Google News and there they all are. Yeah. So that's where we are. And in that movement, AI, it boils the oceans. It takes out all your commodities. It eats all the commodities you could throw at it. Yeah. And actually, natural stupidity does the same. Yeah. Because they actually pack them with gunpowder and fire them at each other. Yeah. So you have these two commodity consumers royale. Yeah. So your commodities is talk about super cycle. I mean, it's the different reason, but AI, which is overwhelmingly powerful, as anybody that is using it will quickly find out. Yeah. That hopefully saves us from natural stupidity. Yeah. And the other thing about AI, it does not put up with shit. It does not put up with bullshit. Sorry, I'm going to say it. Because the way LLMs work is that that's what they remove generally. Yeah. Pure AI takes out the fluff, which of course is, all the garbage. Yeah. But it doesn't invent its own. It takes it from humanity and then it compresses it down to the pure gold of knowledge. Yeah. So people that would use it, in a poor way, as long as the truth is benign, of course, AI is a elevating technology. And so we are already, that genie is out of the box. You can't put that back. Nobody can put that back. It's out of the box. Yeah. And it's in a foot race against natural stupidity. And we know who they are. Yeah. I think AI wins because you have to have it to oppose your enemy or your competitor. So you have to have it. You have to have the most efficient AI to do so. And that is a natural elevating technology. It's like if you want to have a marvelous technology that saved the world, it's the green technology of food production. And nobody gives it 5 seconds of thinking about it. Without that, there would not be 8 billion people in the world. There'd still be probably 2.5. And the same with antibiotics. Yeah. These structural inventions, science inventions, enable there to be 4 times more human beings living twice as long. Yeah, and nobody gets any. They don't get any credit for that. or not of the people that invent it. Alexander Fleming is not as highly regarded as General Patton, for example. Yeah, but underneath the strategic impact of AI is so vast and so fortunate that that's good. That's the good news. And for us as commodity investors, it just adds a zero to our opportunity because you can't do it without copper. You can't do it without energy. You can't do it without water. You can't do it without aluminium. Can't do it without silver. Can't do it without rare earths. What commodity can you do without? It needs gold edge connectors. It needs silver cooling fans. It needs all that stuff. All the stuff that in our world up until very recently was considered boring and valueless. Cables, transformers, industrial stuff. Who needs one of them when you can buy a Google? Yeah. Now, that is the layer that China owns and America doesn't anymore. And the pyramid is a house of cards because it doesn't have a solid base of primary and secondary activity. And Trump is trying to bring that back. Well, that's all commodities. It's all about commodities. Take iron, make it into a boat. Take copper, make it into a wire. Take glass and make it into a light bulb. Take germanium and make it into a silicon chip. That's all commodities. And, the the old idea of kumbaya, everybody should do what they're best at and everyone can be friends. Well, that's gone by the way, hasn't it? Unfortunately. Yeah. Which is that is natural intelligence all cooperating, all being friends, and China doing this, and America doing that, and Europe doing this, and Scandinavia's doing that. That is natural intelligence. But natural intelligence has had to take a back seat to natural stupidity, where no, we won't do that. Oh no, we're going to squeeze them on this, and we're going to compete beyond just purely having a good go at doing things well. And now we're in the land of natural stupidity, but fortunately, we're now in the land of artificial intelligence, which will hopefully counterbalance that. Although Europe's got a problem because they are so far behind the thinking and the pace that they will probably never catch up. But America is on the front foot, is ahead, and has that English language advantage, which is going to turn out to be absolutely critical.
I want to circle back to the potential war between the US and China. You mentioned the date 2027 as a time when it could potentially happen. Why are you watching that year in particular? And what do you think about the potential outcome of that conflict should it occur and become a full-on hot war? Because we've heard reports that the US, it's coming from both sides, obviously, but we've heard the US side actually say, some top military brass say we need to prepare for a conflict with China. But some
As
are saying,
I understand it, Jesse,
yeah, go ahead.
if you're making a thing and you want to sell it to those guys, they say, "Will it be ready by 2027?" And you say no, and they say, "We don't want it." So you're making your thing, your anti-gravity machine, your spear. When's your spear going to be ready for delivery? 2028. We don't want it. When does it have to be ready by? 2027. But it might be a bit later than that. Don't want it.
And so how do you see such a conflict potentially playing out? And what could the implications be? Because we
I will
have...
invade Taiwan in 2027 to celebrate the Chinese 100 years.
Okay.
Or whatever it is, the 100 years of the Communist Party, or whatever that anniversary is. I think that's the thinking. That he will, he's pushing, well, maybe he's told them, we want it back by 2027. And let's have it, or we could take it. And, we could be friends, or we could not be. It's ours, by the way. It always has been ours. And Chiang Kai-shek decided that he hadn't lost the war. He was going to sit on there. And, and he didn't win, and they're still there, and we're going to have it back. And, take it or leave it. What are you going to do? Going to blow everything up because of some poxy little island near our coastline? Yeah, and of course everyone else goes, yes, we better, we can't make chips. Oh yeah, pity that. Well maybe we should try. Oh, we can't make chips. They're all made in Taiwan, and they're going to blow that up first, aren't they? Oh no. And all the AI chips are made in Taiwan and in China. Oh no. Oh, and we can't make a light bulb anymore. Oh, we got 4 manufacturers of 10-inch nails. Did you know? 4, yeah. And where did they get the steel from the nail? Oh, well, they ship the long, thin, irony bits in from China, and then they put a point on one end and a squish on the other. So we can't actually make 10-inch nails even. No. Oh, I think we need to do something about that. We need 10-inch nails if we're going to defend Taiwan, and light bulbs. And chips. Oh, and rare earth. And we need fabs. Who has fabs? Nobody, sir. Oh, surely somebody does. Yeah, Intel, but Intel sucks. But they've got all the fabs in America, have they? Yeah. Anybody else? Not really. What about Europe? It's Intel there too. Oh, ring them up and buy them. I wrote about that in January. Hey, Intel's in a good space because the Americans just said they've got a problem with China, and China makes all the chips. So who makes the chips in America? Only Intel. Oh, okay, well, Intel's going to be in fashion at some point, aren't they? Funny enough, 5 months later they were. Can buy a boat from that insight. But, if you start visioning it through this limbering up for conflict, at least preparing to have it, rearmament. I mean, it's not as if it is secret. They're all talking about rearmament. Europe is rearming. Well, they're not rearming against the Chinese, are they? Yeah, because Europe's been told to sort out Putin, and America's got problems in the Pacific. They said that at that conference. I think it was Munich or wherever it was, Berlin. I don't know, in Germany. Your Minister of Defense, sorry, you're not American, but the American Secretary of Defense, yeah, he's not the Secretary of Defense anymore. They renamed it the Secretary of War. They just
So
even put a new
crazy.
sticker on their building.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we should take a hint on that one. And what's the currency for the Department of War? It's gold. The day they say it's not the Department of War. We don't like doing war. We like to defend ourselves and our people and our borders. We're going to call it the Department of Defense, like the good old days. That'll be a good day. Gold might go down.
Well, let's end on discussing Europe. We're both in Europe right now. You mentioned it. I would like to know your thoughts on the direction the EU economy is headed in. We're seeing obviously problems in Germany, problems in France, problems where you're at in the UK when it comes to untenable debt. And this whole issue of rearmament, which you're talking about, the great Russian threat. These EU leaders are all talking about how Russia's they're not going to end at Ukraine. They're going to go ahead and move forward and start trying to take over EU countries, which seems absurd. But I wonder what your thoughts are. What do you think is the future of the EU? You mentioned they're very behind in the AI race in your view. How do you see things moving forward from here?
Well, look, there's a very important thing that people need to think about. Yeah, once upon a time, Europe and America, particularly America, was so militarily dominant, countries had to develop asymmetrical warfare. Okay? Well, what are asymmetrical warfare weapons? Yeah, it's called cyber weapons. It's called hacking. It's called flooding your internet feed with a load of interesting propaganda. Yeah, and unfortunately, I was at a meeting recently, and everyone was talking about the people that were competitors, and how the competitors were attacking us with basically info war. Okay, and I said, look, it would be really good if allies stopped attacking each other with info war. That would be a start. Yeah. But when you think that the info war has been running now for years, you have to think about, and it's not just enemies that are attacking each other, that allies do the same. Yeah. You need to think about what you're reading in terms of it being a cyber war propaganda attack. And obviously, the major, up to recently, and probably even still today, the major competitor outside of China to America is Europe. And so all this stuff about Europe being rubbish, a lot of that comes out of America. That's American propaganda. We're the great ones, and Europe is rubbish. Yeah. Oh, we're the great ones. Japan is rubbish. Or Europe might go, we're the great ones. America's rubbish. When I was a child, they used to have special television programs saying how rubbish America was. Yeah. Literally, all the Americans are mad and stupid. Look, there's a guy who made a big ball of twine 25 foot wide. Oh, there's another one. There's an American guy and he's skiing naked down a mountain or something like that. There would literally be a show which said the Americans are mad and stupid. That was the propaganda coming out of the national television channel. Yeah. And that hasn't stopped, but it's got more and more and more loud and more focused. So when you read about somebody being rubbish, you've got to not ask whether they're rubbish, but who is saying that. And just trace it back, and you will find it goes back to all sorts of funded people. Yeah, and Europe's not rubbish. Europe's got 500 million people with a very similar GDP to head of America, so it's got more people and more money. So it's very similar. And if you walk around, people fly all the way from America at great expense to wander around European cities because they're so lovely, particularly in comparison with American cities. Yeah. So how rubbish is that? So, don't underestimate Europe. Well, you shouldn't. There's no need to. There's no reason to. Europe is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And so is Japan. And so is America. So is Canada. Yeah. So, it has basic strategic chronic problems like America, like every country, like China. Yeah. And does anybody have a solution for them? Probably not. They'll probably get there in many, many years. Yeah. But when the chips are down, which are starting to be down, then all these, sclerotic and functionaries get their game on or get kicked out. That's why the world changes so much after there's a major war, because everybody has to get their skates on. I mean, look at Ukraine. They're killing each other with plastic toys. Yeah, not 27 million pound jets with 5 million pound munitions. They're killing themselves with $100 plastic toys very successfully, and they've invalidated $40 million tanks with $100 plastic toys. Right, those plastic toys have always been out there. I've got literally a cupboard full of drones because they were wonderful things to make YouTube videos with. Yeah, and they didn't go, oh God, Russia's invaded, let's go make $40 million tanks. They went, what can we do? What can we do? And they came up with this $100 solution, and that's turned the whole military industrial combine on its head, because there was a absolutely pressing, clear need to get their skates on or perish. Yeah, well, it goes for America. That's what America's doing, right? It's trying to get its skates on. Otherwise, given another 5 years of industrial decline, that's it. That's over for America, because they haven't been able to make a light bulb for many years. Yeah, can't make ships anymore. Everything that's been protected is all about the industrial base of America. And they've got to wind that back. They've got to become the workshop of the world, because the workshop of the world always wins the war. And the war that's now in a Cold War situation, the workshop of the world is China. Yeah. But when the people in the know realize they're going to perish unless they get their skates on, they get their skates on and stuff starts to happen. And you're seeing that in Europe now. And obviously, these are all momentum things. They're very, very big, heavy flyweights that take time to spin up. They're super tankers. Yeah, and those super tankers, to change direction, it takes a long, long time, but they change direction. The trouble is stopping them from carrying on. If Europe gets and America gets momentum up into going into a huge conflict, it'd be hard to stop it. That's how the First World War started, because they built up and they started a process they couldn't stop. They unleashed the Kraken, and that's really what's going on now. America is rebuilding the Kraken. And once you've got it, well, what are you going to do? You're going to let it wither away, or are you going to unleash it? And, that's what caused the First World War and all the wars before it, generally. Yeah, and certainly was contributed to the Second World War. And, this rearmament is fabulously dangerous. Fabulously dangerous. And, you talk to people in that area, they have a mindset that's terrifying. They take it for granted that there's going to be that kind of thing. They take it for granted there are going to be thousands of casualties, millions of casualties. That's already baked into their brains. That's already the road they are on. And, are they? They'd probably be disappointed if it didn't happen, because they've set on that journey already. So, that's why your goal's going up.
Well, Clem, this has been a fantastic conversation, as always. Tell us about anewfn.com and your YouTube channel as well.
So, yeah, anyway, I've been inspired by you, Jesse, and other podcasters like that. And, I see that what I'm saying is quite unusual, and it's also well received, generally, unless I'm disagreeing with people's core tenets. And so I decided to make a stocks and shares, a macro investor channel. And I've spotted that there's many people that don't know where to start and don't know what's going on. And, the wall of noise out there and of scammers and people talking rubbish because they want your money is huge. And I've been very well received. Particularly this new channel is got monetized in days. It's been so strong. And so I'm doing basically I will probably do a thing about what next for gold in a day or two. And every couple of days I do something. Then I've got this membership stuff, which is highly obscure technical economic market stuff. You go, why is that happening? And well, it's, as I said, it's a XYZ stochastic process, and this is what the reverse repo does and all that stuff for those people that can care about the deep stuff that really drives the market. Because it ain't Elon Musk saying boo, and it ain't really Donald Trump saying boo. It's the fundamentals underneath it that drive that. It's not the mushroom, it's the mycelium below the ground that is really what you have to familiarize yourself with, and otherwise you get disorientated really quick. And that's what your channel does. It tries to get people in to lay out more strategic views rather than, a acute view. Oh, Joe Blogg said this and it went that, and no, he didn't say it and it went like that. The noise, the signal is what's important. So and UFN is a financial platform for real-time prices at the moment, UK real-time prices, but in due course we'll be bringing on American real-time prices as well. And so you can keep up with, brokers, their platforms are really quite poor. And I've done financial platforms for 20 years. So we want to try to bring something that's a little bit sharper, a little bit more professional, a little bit more what you'd be seeing on a Bloomberg rather than on Yahoo. And that's what that's all about.
Great. Well, I'll put links in the description below to the YouTube channel as well as on ufn.com. Clem, as always, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge with the audience.
My pleasure, Jesse. I'm sorry it sounds all a bit dramatic, but these are dramatic times. It's a change. It's a new era. And I think it's all going to pan out, but it's going to be bumpy.
Thank you for joining us today. This episode is brought to you by ARC Silver Gold Osmium. They have some great prices right now. They are up on the screen. All of this while supplies last. If you're interested, be sure to reach out to owner Ian Everard today at 307-264-9441 or by email at ian@arcsgo.com, and make sure to tell him that Commodity Culture sent you. And be sure to pick up your Commodity Culture merch. Represent the show in style with a hat, t-shirt, hoodie, or mug, all backed by a 100% quality guarantee. Link is in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Commodity Culture is a series on commodities and natural resources. If you would like to see more, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you're always up to date with the latest episodes.